Alright, Bob Buckley here with another Frontline Disc Golf form review. Today we're doing a forehand review. We got PJ here on the right with the luscious red hair. We got Dan Brooks Wells on the left here. I'm going to go through the form slowly and then I'll break it down for you. So the first thing that I see is how much movement PJ has in his form compared to how little movement Dan Brooks Wells has in his form. And the one thing, there's not as many points to hit on in forehand as there is backhand. I pay attention to the amount of movement in your form, the release angle, your release point, and slightly touch upon the footwork. So less movement is better, and the reason being is because the less movement you have in your form, the more likely you are to be able to repeat it over and over again. If you have a bunch of movement in your form, it's not guaranteed you're going to do it the same way every single time, and we want to be able to be repeatable so that way we can be consistent. So I would work on getting all this extra swinging of the arm out of there and coming back and all that stuff out of there in order to become more repeatable. I would work on a slower, more controlled run up or walk up. Pay attention to the orientation of your elbow to your wrist. This is one of the things I go over later in the video. So as you guys release, you'll see that PJ's elbow is well underneath his wrist, and as he comes through, his wrist comes over his elbow, which he's coming at an awkward angle. He's coming up, but almost over. So I think that's what leads to this. He has like almost a floppy release. It's not a clean release. I think that paying attention to whether you want to throw a flex or an anhyzer or a hyzer or a flat shot, and picking that and setting yourself up to throw that shot prior to releasing the disc is going to be key. I'm going to skip over, I'll go over, that's all grip stuff, I'll go over that later. So what I mean by the elbow under the, or the wrist under the elbow. So if I have my wrist under my elbow here, that means that I'm throwing a hyzer. If my wrist is even with my elbow, I'm throwing a flat shot. If my wrist is over my elbow, that means I'm throwing a flex shot or an anhyzer, and you can see the angle of the disc in each of these. So you see as Dan comes through, his shot is nice and flat. And I'm actually going to move PJ's over here because I want you to see the floppy release. Oops. So as the disc comes out, I'm going frame by frame. You can see it, how it wobbles. It comes out, that means he's not getting a clean release. So that can come from a couple different things. That can come from not snapping your wrist when you're throwing it, as well as like he comes down with his elbow and then follows through with his wrist. So he's setting himself up here to throw a flex shot, and at the very last second he comes through at a hyzer. So I think that might have something to do with the wobbly release as well. So, and yeah, so I would say play with a couple different grips too, because if you don't have a tight grip on that disc, it's not guaranteed to come out clean either. So there's a couple different grips I'll go over. Different grips work for different people because we all have different size hands and stuff. So this here is what I call a stacked modified grip, and it looks more like here on the left, but I did it with my thumb out of the way so you can see what the rim looks like. And all these grips have two things in common. They have the pads of our fingers against the rim. That's where the friction comes from in order to get the snap and the rotations on the disc. And they have the extra fingers that we're not using over here as support. So this is a stacked modified or a modified 2-finger. This next one is just a 2-finger stack. This is like kind of the traditional grip. And I didn't include a picture for the 1-finger because I forgot, but the 1-finger is essentially the same thing, but you drop the middle finger. The middle finger comes over here as one of the support fingers, and the pointer finger is alone along the edge of the rim. And then split finger. This works to help aid in throwing an anhyzer as well. I use this with mid-ranges a lot, as it helps push this edge up and assists in throwing a flex shot. So that's that. In order to work out the muscles in your forearm and aid in the forehand, we have this exercise we call the hammer drill. So as we're doing it, you're going to hold the disc so it's perpendicular to the ground. You're going to move your wrist up and down as if you were swinging a hammer. And if you do that, like, it seems silly at first, but after doing it for 5-10 minutes, you'll definitely feel the muscles in your forearm burn. So it's kind of goofy. I just did a video to show you what I'm talking about. Just do this over and over again. You can do it while you're sitting on your couch, or you can do it while you're just sitting around doing nothing. And yeah, that's all I got for you. Hopefully you enjoyed it. My forehand videos are usually shorter, so I added that little extra content. I don't know if it's goofy or whatever, so feel free to give me feedback, and hope it was helpful. Thanks for watching.